Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everybody. Tonight is Thursday, June 13th, 2024. This is live stream 1068. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and I will usually pontificate on a topic related to our hobby. Tonight, taking a little bit of a break, just a quick break from our nightly topics, and we're going to do an AMA. So I have had people who have asked me in the past, how come, unlike other outlets, I don't do like a monthly AMA? Well, we'll give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. If it turns out to be decent, I guess we'll do one again in July. If it turns out to be like mind-numbingly dull, maybe not. You never know. But regardless, we are certainly not engaged in any sort of rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, just hanging out, having some fun. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. So let's see. We've got chat available. That's right, because it's a live show. There is chat. Now, of course, you must be a subscriber to the channel in order to take part in chat. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part. A couple of ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, got a question, a comment, chime in. I will do my best to respond. Don't start hitting me up with the AMA questions yet. Wait until we hit our brief intermission and afterwards. Because if you start hitting me up with the questions now, I will never see them. They will just pop on past. So just letting you know. First out the gate tonight is Roger Perdome, Semper Buffo, Tessie Trekkie, The Badger, W Forge, one of our chat moderators, Flaming Huron, is with us. Good to see you, as is Kathy Evans. And I'll take a guess, we might actually have the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D hanging out in the shadows. Yet another one of our chat moderators. So welcome aboard, everybody. Let's jump on into the news, because the Planet of the Apes role-playing game launched on Kickstarter yesterday. I've got the scoop from Magnetic Press Play. Return to the world where apes rule over a dwindling human population. In a world turned upside down, civilized apes sit atop of the evolutionary ladder, ruling over a population of primal humans. But this dominion will not go unchallenged. Wayward astronauts arrive to lead an uprising, questioning this madness and the events that led to this topsy-turvy backward future. Political intrigue, societal conflict, and fantastical, dangerous mysteries abound on this planet ruled by apes. Built on the celebrated, time-tested D6 system developed by role-playing game pioneer West End Games, this exciting science fiction adventure series brings a wealth of new features and role-playing mechanics for a new generation of gamers. There is a short Kickstarter video, so let's take a peek. The Kickstarter project for Planet of the Apes, the role-playing game, is already past the 1,000% funding mark. You can score the hardcover rulebook, the adventure box, and PDF for a $99 pledge, or grab just the PDFs alone for a $60 pledge through July 12th. There is an expected delivery, get ready for this, in September. That is an awfully quick turnaround. There are a variety of different pledge levels. There are miniatures, as you can see. So you do have a pledge level that includes that also. So you can kind of get your Planet of the Apes fix if you would like. And yes, Flaming Heron stole my thunder. It's exactly what I was going to do. And then he's stealing my thunder again. You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell! Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Sorry, that's actually, there was some acting going on there. Not Chuck Heston acting, that was real acting. Semper Buffo says they are all in for this. So Tessie Trekkie has mentioned that the entire household has a combination of COVID and the flu. Damn. Well, I hope all of you feel better ASAP. Tony Urquides and Chris Burkhart are with us tonight. Welcome aboard. Tessie Trekkie says September turnaround must mean it's basically written and laid out the way a Kickstarter should be. Yes, normally that would be the case. So I am going to point something out, though, that I thought was a little bit weird. So Magnetic Press is a publisher. And I believe they tend to publish graphic novels and such. And then Magnetic Press Play is their game division. Now, this is the web address that you see on these images going past. That is the web address that Magnetic Press Play has pointed out is the web address for their game division, but it's not. And it's actually on their Kickstarter. I'm like, okay, kind of weird. Just like, I forget who it was. Maybe it was Semper Buffo asking about this Kickstarter yesterday, thinking I was going to have news about it because it had launched. And I had mentioned, I kept getting emails from Magnetic Press Play saying, hey, be sure to sign up so you can be notified when this launches. Hey, sign up. Don't forget. And I never do because I know they're going to just send me an email when it launches anyway. And they didn't. I was like, what? So I don't know. Now, you might recall I shared Carbon Gray. I shared some coverage of Carbon Gray with miniatures and so forth. And that was pretty cool. That was pretty nice. I am taking a guess that we will probably see that production quality bumped up a little bit for Planet of the Apes. But like I said, there's just some kind of odd things with this Kickstarter project I thought was a little bit weird. But as far as this being like the expected delivery in September, this has got to be like shooting off to the printers before this Kickstarter even ends. I mean, because your turnaround from a printer, it's not just a couple of months. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Flaming Heron says, crazy that some Kickstarter games take over 12 months. That just tells me the game isn't even gone past the planning stage. All depends. You know what? A lot of times, especially when we're talking about role-playing game Kickstarters, reason why it takes that long is because they need the funds for the art. That's with a lot of these I'm not saying this one, but with a lot of role-playing game Kickstarters, the game is done. The adventure, the book, what have you. It's just no artwork or very little artwork and still the layout. So, Shanbot V42 says that would track Jeff since the cover is done by comics artist. I'm not even going to try to pronounce Bill S.'s name. I know who he is. Most notable work is early Moon Knight and Elektra Assassin. I was going to say that's Moon Knight is where I know him from. So there you have it. There you go. And I believe the lead designer on this is Andrew E.C. Gaska, who does a lot of I think he's done all of the Alien role-playing game stuff for Free League Publishing. Yes, very nice, very nice. Moonrise Long, the deluxe edition of Mothership First Edition is now available as a box set from Tuesday Night Games and Exalted Funeral. And here's the latest. Welcome to Mothership, the award-winning science fiction horror RPG where you and your crew try to survive in the most inhospitable environment in the universe, outer space. All of the first edition core rulebooks, in addition to 4 official modules, are in this box set. If you've just heard of Mothership, I don't know why you're watching this show. Because I'd assume most of you watching have heard of Mothership. Or if you want to make sure your collection is complete, look no further than the Mothership Deluxe set. Mothership is a horror game for mature audiences. It contains violence, foul language, some sexual content, drug use, and depictions of mental illness, trauma, stress, and panic that may not be suitable for all audiences. So please be advised. This deluxe set includes the player's survival guide, the warden's operation manual, unconfirmed contact reports, shipbreaker's toolkit, another bug hunt introductory module, the D100 dice set and panic die, 12 punchboard pawns. Oh, it says over 12. Double-sided poster map in full color trifold full-size warden screen, the Dead Planet module, the Pound of Flesh, or I guess I should say a Pound of Flesh module, and Gradient Descent module. So a lot of good stuff. The Mothership First Edition Deluxe set carries an MSRP of $99 over at Exalted Funeral. You can score the player survival guide as a pay what you want over at Drive-Thru RPG. And yes, it is the first edition. It is the new one. Now, the Warden's Operation Manual, aka kind of the Game Master's Guide, is available also at in PDF at Drive-Thru RPG. Now, that is available for $20. So I've got to say that this box set, I can pretty much guarantee is going to sell out in a few days, if it's not already sold out. Because for some strange reason, I get emails from Exalted Funeral, and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks cool. And then I go to share a news piece, and it's like sold out. I'm like, okay. Reason why I mention this is because you've got the player survival guide, the Warden's Operation Manual, the Unconfirmed Contact Report, and the Shipbreaker's Toolkit. As I mentioned, the survival guide, pay what you want. The other three are $20 for the PDFs. Plus, toss in another bug hunt, Dead Planet, a pound of flesh. I mean, these aren't just 4 or 5 page modules there. There's some page count involved there. So funny enough, this has an MSRP of $99. But if you look at everything that's in it, you're probably looking at $150 or more as far as the MSRP on this. Not shabby. Not shabby. So taking a peek here at chat. Tessie Trekkie says, rule 1 of getting my Kickstarter role-playing game money, the manuscript is written and available to the backers. Hey, the Madman's joining us. It's been a while. We haven't seen him. Says he's popping in for a minute to say hello. Service Awards week at work with several after-hours gatherings and events. And he will catch us next week. Have a good time. Hope you enjoy your stay at the Service Awards. Very nice. Flaming Heron says, don't disagree with you, Jeff, but sadly, a lot of the releases I get don't get the full release of the PDF, but get a staggered release of updates to the PDF with or without artwork. Yeah, that's what a lot of companies will do as far as their Kickstarters. They will roll out an alpha and then a beta. So that is usually what goes on as far as backing a Kickstarter. You'll get the PDFs. Now, I will say there are some companies that are getting away from that because they're finding that when they share the PDFs of works in progress, all of a sudden they're floating around on pirate sites. So they're like, so maybe not going to do that. Tessie Trekkie said they backed the deluxe edition, got it the other day. It's an awesome product. And the Warden's Manual is hands down the best fucking GM module ever. Nice. The Badger says they've got Death in Space and Vast Grim. Think they'll pass on Mothership. I would say, having glanced at Mothership and having reviewed Death in Space, there is quite a bit of similarity there. I mean, it's essentially rules light. That's what you're looking at. It's kind of a rules light OSR approach to science fiction. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. Lord Koss 2000 and Matayu are with us, as is Maddie C. Said they just got their Mothership Deluxe in the mail today. Nice. Summer Buffo says they're getting an intro PDF rule set immediately when the Kickstarter ends, as far as this is the Planet of the Apes. Gaska said in a podcast that he's been working on it the past 18 months. Very nice. Very nice. And Semper Buffo says it's about 150 pages. There you go, little incentive. Moving right along, author MT Black has a crowdfunding project to fund Iskandar Adventures Volume 1 for 5e Dungeons & Dragons. Here's the scoop. Unleash the magic of Iskandar. Dive into Iskandar Adventures Volume 1, a riveting collection of role-playing game adventures for the 5th edition of the world's most popular role-playing game. Featuring diverse quests, evocative settings, and epic battles, this book is perfect for enhancing your fantasy campaign. The adventures are set in the richly detailed world of Iskandar, but can be easily adapted to any fantasy game world. Whether you're exploring fantastic locations, unraveling dread secrets, or facing bizarre foes, these adventures promise endless excitement. This collection includes the following Tier 1 adventures. The Ironclad Ogre. Your search for a missing farmer leads to a crumbling tower and an adventure filled with unexpected alliances and hidden plots. Keepers of the Pale Flame. Explore an ancient lighthouse with a grim past where haunting melodies and vile secrets threaten disaster. The Siege of Wolf Hall. Engage in a strategic battle at the formidable Wolf Hall, where courage and wit are key to overcoming a challenging siege. And we also have A Taste of Trouble. The head of the Wand and Robe Society is missing. Investigate her enigmatic cottage, where enchantment lurks in every corner and peril comes in an unexpected guise. And finally, we had The Whispering Sanctum. Venture into a bastion of ancient wisdom and hidden secrets and discover the startling dangers that accompany the pursuit of enlightenment. Over 100 playtesters ensured that these adventures are ready to play. Each scenario includes scaling information, meaning it can be played at any level from 1 to 4. Now, this Kickstarter is fully funded, and you can reserve a copy of the hardcover book for a pledge of approximately $20. Yes, you heard that correctly, $20. Or score just the PDF for a pledge of approximately $10 through June 20th. Expected delivery is September for the physical book. So yes, once again, this is something that's probably pretty much done. And the reason why I say that is because you can get the digital file, if you're a backer, come July. So pretty quick. I will say that MT Black has a very good reputation as a 5e D&D adventure author and has quite a few PDFs out there for various different adventures, as well as some setting information about what was the title of it again? Let me jump back here. Iskandar. So very nice. Some of the images I'm sharing with you are actually from the covers of those different PDFs, because there wasn't really much for me to grab outside of this overhead map from this Kickstarter. There was no Kickstarter video either. So keep that in mind. Chris Lundgren is with us, joining us once again with Buddy. There we go. W. Forge asks, isn't Iskar the planet the spaceship Yamato has to go to save the human race? You know, I think Iskandar, however you want to pronounce it, I think pops up in other things too. But you might be right. Yes. I haven't seen that in forever. I was a kid when I saw, what is it? Space Fortress Yamato? Is that it? I always forget. Like I said, I haven't seen it since I was probably 10 years old. And I remember sitting there watching it. I didn't watch it like every day, but I remember I saw the episode where the captain dies. So, yeah, Star Blazers, that was what we got here in the U.S. That was it. Star Blazers. But yeah, I remember the captain died. I was like, wow, what? Space Battleship Yamato? That might be it. Flaming Heron. That might be it. Because I know space is in the title. The anime, not the dubbed. Space Fortress Yamato was the Japanese title. Okay, so I guess I was right. Thank you, W. Forge. Let's move on to our next news piece because Bundle of Holding has teamed once again with Goodman Games to revive the Metamorphosis Alpha Bundle. Here's the skinny. Adventure! We've resurrected our August 2021 Metamorphosis Alpha Bundle featuring the vintage 1976 first edition of, you guessed it, Metamorphosis Alpha, the tabletop role-playing game created by James M. Ward of Mutants and Monstrosities on a colossal generation starship. In 2290, humanity launched its first colonization ship, the Warden. A radiation storm in deep space struck and crippled the gigantic starship. The ship's human crew died, and the few survivors mutated and formed primitive civilizations. Tribes struggled against a world they could not comprehend. Generations later, as a human, mutant, or robot on the Warden, you fight to survive, unaware even that your irradiated world is a spaceship. Can you uncover the secrets of the Warden and steer it back on course? Or will you simply try to live another day? For just $9.95, you'll get all 7 titles in this revived offer's starter collection, which has a retail value of $42, as DRM-free PDFs, including the 2016 Goodman Games reproduction of the complete 1976 Metamorphosis Alpha First Edition First Printing Rulebook, originally presented as Chapter 2 of Goodman's MA1E Deluxe Collector's Edition, plus the referee screen and 3 MA supplements, Creatures and Gadgets, the Mutation Manual, and Warden Armory, as well as 2 adventure source books, the introductory campaign Death Ziggurat in Zero G, and Warden Adventures. And if you pay more than the threshold price of $25.67, you'll level up and also get this Revival's entire bonus collection, with 6 more titles worth an additional $70, including the full-length campaign adventure Doom on the Warden, the location sourcebook Epsilon City, and several more short adventures on the Warden, the Android Overlords, the Captain's Table, and Level of the Lost, along with a book of handouts. These savings will run through June 26th, and 10% of your payment after payment gateway fees will be donated to the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. Nice. I would like to dive into Metamorphosis Alpha one day. I would like to take a peek at it. It's been around forever. Yes, it is, as far as my understanding, it is the first science fiction role-playing game. And Jim Ward just recently passed away, sadly. So this is a nice little, nod to remember him. And I would have to say, price-wise, it's a pretty decent deal. Now, important to keep in mind, it is for the first edition of Metamorphosis Alpha, because I know there have been other editions over the years. And I think the latest edition, if I remember correctly, it got savaged as far as its reviews. So like I said, I haven't looked at any of the editions, so I'm not overly familiar with it, but I would take a guess that it is relatively adjacent to original Dungeons and Dragons or advanced Dungeons and Dragons, probably somewhere in the middle there. So Tessie Trekkie says that their friendly local game store has a deluxe edition of the latest edition on their clearance shelf for $10. They might grab it. As I just mentioned, reviews were not very positive, if I remember correctly. Chris Burkhardt says, don't forget Gamma World. But Metamorphosis Alpha did come out before Gamma World. Because isn't Gamma World 78? 78, 79. W. Forge says they'd love to see bundles of early TSR products like Star Frontiers, Top Secret, and Gangbusters. Don't hold your breath. That's all I could say. Sorry. Chris Lundgren asks, is the first edition easy to play or crunchy rules? Having not seen it, I can't say for certain, but I will say it's no doubt OSR. So no getting around that. All right, Sean O'Donnell is with us in chat. I think I've said hello to everybody so far tonight. Now let's move on to our final news piece, because The Grey Knight is now available in print and PDF for Pendragon 6th edition. And here's the latest from Chaosium Inc. Pendragon the Grey Knight is a complete campaign, fully compatible with both the Pendragon starter set and the Pendragon core rulebook. The Grey Knight waits for vengeance, and time is running out. Can you find the treasure that holds the key to defeating this vile foe and save the kingdom itself? Revised and updated for the new edition, Pendragon the Grey Knight is a beginner-friendly campaign book containing everything you need to run the legendary Grey Knight campaign. The text has been fully updated for the new edition of the game. Pendragon the Grey Knight contains 2 prequel scenarios that bridge the Sword campaign from the starter set to the adventures in the Grey Knight campaign. These bridging scenarios make Pendragon the Grey Knight an ideal campaign for new players and GMs. This 88-page hardcover is available now. It carries an MSRP of $29.99. Now, if you order from Chaosium Inc., you do get the PDF for free. But if you are interested in just getting the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $14.99. And I will mention the artwork outside of the cover to the adventure. I actually took these. They're from my overhead camera because it's so difficult to find images from this book. And, usually most publishers, we get 4 or 5 images that I can use. There weren't any. So I took these pictures myself. So there you have it. There you have it. Some discussion about free role-playing game day, free RPG day. Mark CMG Clover is with us in chat. I think this might be a first-time visit for Mark in chat. Welcome aboard. The nickname isn't ringing a bell with me, so my apologies if you've popped on in before and I just don't realize it. W. Forge is talking about the free RPG Day website listing what's being offered. So I'm kind of curious. We'll talk about that in just a second, because I don't think I've ever actually gone to a game store for free RPG Day. So Mark says it is the first time in live chat. Well, welcome aboard. Make yourself comfortable. All right, so that is the news tonight. So I should point out, later on this evening, you'll be able to check out my review of Pendragon 6th edition, The Grey Knight. So stay tuned. It'll probably be live on both the website and the channel within about an hour of the show wrapping up tonight. So if you are curious, by all means, tune in to check it out. So, of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit DriveThruRPG, Storyteller Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. So thank you for that. And of course, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Delicious. And there are a few of you out there who stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and make not small donations. Big thank you for that. And of course, thanks to everyone who uses the banner ads and or stops by paypal.me. It is much appreciated. So what I was going to say is, as far as free RPG day, if it's like free comic book day, it all depends on the store you go to. So like free comic book day, a lot of comic book shops will allow somebody one comic of each of the tiers. So off the top of my head, I think it's like diamond, gold, silver, bronze. But then there were other comic book stores who were like, yeah, take whatever you want. But the thing is, it is free comic book day. It is free RPG day. But those items are not free to the stores. The stores actually pay for those to get you to come in. So I'm kind of curious, those of you out there who have been to a game store during free RPG day, do you just get one thing? Or do you get to kind of pick a few things? Or is it whatever you'd like? Kind of curious. So Mark CMG Clover says there's a freebie for folks. It's a pay what you want for a PDF of a first edition Osric form fillable character sheet over on Drive-Thru RPG. That's cool. 245 Trioxin is with us tonight. Very nice. Very nice. All right, Chris Burkett is already asking a question for the AMA. So I will address that one first. So remember tonight, no topic. We're doing an AMA. And depending on how well it goes, because I've had people ask me, how come you don't do an AMA every month? And I'm like, I don't know. Anybody can find it interesting? I don't know. So I thought, all right, I couldn't come up with a topic for this evening. So I thought, okay, let's just do the AMA like I had mentioned last night. So, of course, we're going to get on into that in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission. Once you get to see the paypal.me/thegaminggang.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
To leave room for more. Man's man-sized pleasure every premium quality Falstaff you pour. Falstaff always takes extra care to make the finest beer possible, even to cascading every brew over the Falstaff chilling tower, instantly icing down each brew to protect that famous premium quality taste every step of the way, till it's safely capped in and you're ready to enjoy it. Satisfying to your man-sized thirst, light enough to leave room for more.
For man-sized pleasure, this is the one. Premium quality Falstaff beer.
Wilkins decaffeinated coffee is best at any price.
Oh, you just say that because...
Because what?
Because it's true.
Creepy crawlers, creepy crawlers, creepy crawlers.
Now, you can make all kinds of lovely things like these with Mattel's wonderful Thing Maker. It makes creepy crawlers, spiders, lizards, snakes, dragonflies. Make them yourself with this nice plastic goop. Choose a mold, pour in the goop, heat it, and presto changeo, you've got bugs. Squiggly, squirty bugs. They feel so soft and natural. You get 4 different colors of goop and special paints. Make charming lizard pins or spider rings. You can collect them or spread them around. After all, they're fun for the entire family. Get Mattel's new Thing Maker with creepy crawlers. You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Yes, the infamous creepy crawlers. I know I've shared that commercial before, and some of us have discussed how we had those as kids, which you would never see something like that for small kids again, because you had to bake them. Essentially, you put them into that little oven. I don't like giving little ovens to children anymore. It's the thing. All right, so let's dive on into the AMA. I guess I might as well knock this one off first. Mark CMG Clever asks, will the Cubs find a closing pitcher before the trade deadline? They've got enough options. They've got plenty of options. And they just signed that relief pitcher. If I remember right, I think his last name is Sanchez, who started that big kerfluffle with the Mets. Thought that was pretty wild. And then they basically designated him for assignment, so they released him. And it was funny, when they did that, I thought, I wonder if the Cubs are going to pick him up. Because his lifetime ERA is not great, but past year or two, he's been okay. I don't know. I have no idea. I would say from what I have seen so far, yeah, it's like got this little hair floating around. Teams are willing to make some trades. They're not just waiting around to the trade deadline. So I like seeing that. That's pretty cool. There was also some discussion, depending on the store. Some stores will allow you for free RPG Day to choose one of every tier. Some give away tickets. So, sweet. Very nice. I find it strange sometimes when publishers have something that's for free RPG Day, and then afterwards they turn around and charge for it on like Drive-Thru RPG as a PDF. I think that's a little lame, in my opinion. Okay, so let's go back to that other question. What type of adventure appeals to me the most? And I'm going to take a guess. You're talking about as a game master running it. So because I don't get an opportunity to play very often. Very, very rarely. Dungeon crawl, hex crawl, mystery/horror, heist, urban type adventures. Mystery horror. Obviously enough, running a lot of Call of Cthulhu. I like running adventures where the players have to think. They have to kind of take a look at clues or try to piece together information to be able to, come up with hypotheses and things like that. I am not a fan of games where it's like, oh, just roll a die. Just roll to see, oh, okay, so you succeed in figuring this out. I don't like that at all. That was one of the things that really turned me off on 5e D&D, because it had gotten to the point where it's sort of like, oh, well, you're trying to negotiate with somebody. Well, the players aren't sitting there coming up with an idea, well, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to ask them? How are we going to negotiate? No, it's like, oh, what skill am I rolling on? It's like, that's not role-playing games. It's role-playing. R-O-L-E, not R-O-L-L. So yes, I would say mystery/horror, because I enjoy kind of dropping clues and things like that. And I also like, role-playing NPCs. So if you're doing like a dungeon delve, you're usually running across more monsters and things like that. Although, granted, if you're running a dungeon delve which has multiple factions, which is always a good thing, in my opinion, I just find faction play to really bring a lot to the game table, as opposed to everything's there in a vacuum. But don't get to, do my acting as much with like games like that. All right, let's see. Sean O'Donnell said, time to get personal. Chris Lundgren says that Buddy loves watching. He's just fascinated by the show. Yeah, I mean, animals are kind of odd. And I've said it umpteen times. Animals and little kids adore me. Everybody else, jury's out. Oh, yeah, W4 is talking about those flying spiders. Yeah, those are freaky. The Badger points out that their aunt had the Peanuts plastic goop kit. That's exactly really what the creepy crawlers were. Chris Lundgren says, love the Cubs, but pain in the butt to watch here in California, surrounded by Dodger fans. Dodgers are all right. I like the 1940s and 50s Dodgers. Are always going up against the Yankees and for the most part losing. But the Trolley Dodgers. So Chris Lundgren says at Free RPG Day last year, they got a free dice tower and free demos. Nice. The Badger says, for the AMA, you said the other night you'd never played Twilight 2000. I did not say I've never played it. Is that by choice or just circumstance? I said I never ran it. Our friend Scott, who on occasion pops in to chat, he ran Twilight 2000. See, back in the day, like in high school, it was not unusual for a lot of us to have copies of the same game, even if we weren't going to be running it. And it was more along the lines of trying to have an understanding of the rules. I've pointed out before that when I was younger, I was a fairly notorious rules lawyer. So yes, that was another reason why I tended to have copies of rules all the time. But we did play Twilight 2000. Didn't play a lot of it. We did not play a ton of it. So I've pointed out before that the concept of Twilight 2000 is interesting. And Frank Chadwick is a good designer, but it was kind of clunky. It really was. It was relatively clunky as far as a rules system. And the way the adventures were written, they just didn't grab you. You know how sometimes, especially if you're a game master, you'll know what I'm talking about, that you'll pick up an adventure and, technically it's fine. The writing is fine. The technical writing is fine, but it's just not grabbing you. You're not sitting there going, oh yeah, I can picture this going on with my players. And I know my players pretty well. So I'm going to take a guess. They might respond to this like this. No, sometimes you have an adventure, you're just reading through it and you're done and you're like, okay. One thing that the Twilight 2000 adventures didn't have a lot of was what it tended to do is say, okay, this is the situation at this place, and there you go. It didn't have anything walking you through an adventure. And yes, I know we talk about linear adventures and railroads and things like that, but sometimes a little bit of that can go a long way and really help out the game master, even if they're just looking at, oh, okay, so this is how this could develop, how this set piece could develop into this next set piece or encounter and so forth. So, but it wasn't that I avoided Twilight 2000. I will say that as far as genres go, which is weird because I love military history, but kind of like military-styled role-playing games aren't necessarily my bag of tricks. Just for whatever reason, I don't know. To be honest, I think I could probably run one-shots for modern era stuff, but I just don't see myself getting too excited about an ongoing campaign for, say, a World War II role-playing game. So, all right. Matteo says, player character needs to walk through a door. What skill should I roll on? Where's my walking skill? Where is that? Do I have a walking skill bonus I add to my 20-sided die? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, so let's see. How are my cats? Roger Perdome's asking how the cats are. They're great. Troublemakers, of course, and they have very unique personalities. That is for certain. So Mango, who's the younger of the two, is more like the attention baby. It's like, God forbid, no one's in the house. God forbid somebody leaves and the other person has to walk out into the garage because it's like, meow, 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 meow. And she's usually within 10 feet of me for the most part. And then Lala she's a little cuddle bug in certain situations. It's kind of strange. And I would say over the last 6 months, she's gotten far more cuddly. She's one of those types of cats who likes to, or at least when I first got her, she likes to sleep with you, but she'll sleep down by your feet. And now she'll go to sleep and she'll actually come up like next to me or climb on top of me and go to sleep. Mark CMG Clover says, Mookie Betts is a national treasure. I like Mookie. Wish he was a Cub. See, talking about the Dodgers, one of the reasons why it's hard for people to root for the Dodgers is the same reason why for some people it's very difficult to root for the Yankees. Personally, I don't have an issue with the Yankees. I like the old Mickey Mantle Yankees and, stuff like that. But it's because they spend all that money. So you figured this past offseason, the Dodgers took on $1 billion in salary. And that is not something that most baseball teams can do. So the competitive balance kind of gets thrown out of whack. So back in the day when the Yankees were always winning the World Series, they used to say rooting for the Yankees was like rooting for U.S. Steel. Or it's sort of like, Chris Burkhart asks, Frank Chadwick, the same guy that does War Games? Yes. Same Frank Chadwick. Yep. That is him. He also designed Space 1889, which is a role-playing game. So that was GDW back in the day. Chris Burkhart asks, what are my thoughts on min-max type players? Do you feel they're just trying to beat the game and not getting into the spirit of the game? It all depends. It depends on what you as a game master want from your game table. If someone just all they care about is how to try to make sure that they take advantage of every tiny little advantage they might have, yeah, okay, I guess. To me, I find min-maxing, I think it was essentially PC games, which really brought that to the fore. Because if you're playing a PC game, usually what you're looking at is that you do want to min-max if you're playing, say, like Baldur's Gate 3. And I know there are people out there who are like, oh, I just play it for the role-playing aspect. And yeah, okay. But the great majority of people playing computer role-playing games are looking to try to create the best characters possible to make life a bit easier. So I think that's kind of got it. Tessie Trekkie asks, doesn't baseball have any kind of salary cap? They do not. They have a luxury tax where teams that go over a certain level of payroll have to pay a tax into the league, which gets broken up to get paid out to the other teams. But no, there is no salary cap, and the players will never vote to allow for that either. Chris Lundgren says, playing superheroes is boring as a role-playing game for them, but they love watching Superman movies. Weird? No, not really. I don't think so. Superhero role-playing games can be kind of hit or miss. It all depends. It all depends on what kind of power level you're at. James Venabush is with us asking, what is my favorite in-print setting today? Well, let me think. Kind of weird, because there's a few that I enjoy reading through so I can do reviews. I would say I like Glorantha. I do like Glorantha. I've got to be honest, probably the old world for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I just like the sense of humor the game has. I like where it's almost like the world of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You know? How do you know he's king? He doesn't have shit all over him. Or I should say, he's not all covered in shit. I think that's the line. But yeah, I think Cubicle 7 Entertainment has done a really great job with Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay as far as a setting. But like I said, I like Galarian. I've been delving more into Harn because I've got some Harn reviews. So we have got that on the horizon because it is still Small Publisher Month here at the Gaming Gang, which, funny enough, companies like Chaosium Inc. are really small publishers. I mean, if you think about it. But because the big publisher is, of course, Wizards of the Coast and Paizo to a certain extent. Even Free League Publishing is still kind of a small publisher, even though they've got these huge IPs. They're not huge. They're not real big. Modifius Entertainment, same thing. They've got a lot of IPs, but just not, they're not a huge publisher. But as far as other settings that I think really deserve a mention, I think Modifius Entertainment has done just fantastic work with Dune. I think what they've done with Dune is exceptional. But the thing is, you come to expect that with Modifius Entertainment. I mean, their Star Trek, excellent. Their Star Trek captures Star Trek. I'm really curious to see what the second edition looks like. And hopefully they streamline it enough where people aren't scared off by that 2D20. Because the reality is 2D20 is not that crunchy. It's not that clunky. You're rolling dice. So it's like, just like I had somebody comment on my Pendragon 6th edition review where I was talking about the traits and the passions where you might be called to roll against, say, your merciful trait, and the flip side of merciful is cruel. So you would roll, and if, let's say, you've got a merciful of 13, and you rolled a 15. Now, you might have to roll on your cruel, which they always add up to 20. So if you had a 13 in merciful, then your cruel is going to be 7. And then you roll that, and let's say you rolled over that, then the player can choose whatever he wants to do, he or she wants to do. And somebody had commented, oh, so there's a second die roll? I would think that would really slow things down. And now I didn't comment, but I thought to myself, seriously? Because look at 5e D&D or any Dungeons and Dragons or just about any role-playing game. Oh, I got to roll to hit. Oh, and then I roll for damage. Look, a second roll. Wow, did that slow things down? Actually, it would be quicker than rolling damage because you don't have to add dice up, right? You're just rolling a single 20-sider. Oh, that was just an oddball sort of comment. Shanbot V42 asks, what kind of things makes a game session sing for me? Music, props, theme. I don't do music. I actually don't do a lot of extras. I don't do minis, although I love miniatures. I wish I had time to paint miniatures like I used to. I don't really normally do music. What I will tend to do now is I have a fairly old little tablet, and I will load that up with images So I try to get like the character sketches or whatever for NPCs and stuff, or I'll get like an image of a creature or monster, whatever. And then, of course, if it's got like, oh, there's the title underneath, Photoshop, and I get rid of the title, so they don't see what it is. Oh, that's what a deep one looks like. Nice, because it says deep one. All right, sweet. So I will do that. But as far as a lot of bells and whistles, I don't normally do that. When I do run a role-playing game, I usually stand. I'll sit down for a little bit, and then I'll stand, and I'll get up. And back in the day, I would actually kind of like walk around the table when I'd be running Call of Cthulhu. But where we normally play now, I don't have that much space to maneuver around in that. But I would say as far as bells and whistles, I like to have things to show the players. But outside of that, not really much. Not really much. So Chris Lundgren asks, how do all the 5th edition gamers feel about Wizards of the Coast and the new edition going away from Forgotten Realms back to Greyhawk? Well, see, and the funny thing is that I have heard, once again, I'm not really paying much attention to Wizards of the Coast. I don't really need to. So it's like, whatever. But I had heard that Greyhawk is only going to be kind of an example setting. It's not going to be a default setting, such as the default setting for 5e is Forgotten Realms. But I guess they're using Greyhawk as their example. I got to be honest, I don't know. I think it's kind of weird because from what I have been hearing is that it seems the powers that be at Wizards of the Coast are kind of poo-pooing old D&D, right? I've heard now, once again, I don't know, I have not read it, but that upcoming D&D book that's going to actually include a copy of the original, 1974 rules in it, that there are some portions of the book where the authors kind of talk down about like Gygax and Arneson and others who are critical to the creation of Dungeons and Dragons. Once again, I don't know that for a fact because I haven't read it. It's not out yet. And we all know people love to bitch about stuff they know nothing about. So it is a possibility there. Don't know. But I don't. It's the party line is that this new, not a new edition is going to be completely backward compatible with anything from 5e. So I don't really think it matters at all that they're going to do Greyhawk. All right, let's see what else we got. W4 asks, what is the ideal number of players for a role-playing game, and what is the ideal length of a gaming session? You're probably asking the wrong guy. Probably asking the wrong person here. Because if things are cooking at the game table, I do not have a problem with an 8-hour game session. Take a little bit of a break, grab something to eat at the halfway point. I was known in my youth to run role-playing games for 12 hours, maybe more, not like nonstop, but there were times where like Elliot and our friend Ed and Elliot's late nephew, Paul, we would play and then we'd maybe go up to the mall, bum around the mall, grab something to eat, then come back and play again. Myself personally, I think The sweet spot for players is 4. Just myself personally. I find it funny, all those old adventures, those old modules where you'd see it's like for 7 to 10 characters of levels 10 to 14. You're like, yeah, okay. Who the hell's getting all those people together? And yes, I get it. You would have the hirelings and the henchmen. And a lot of times players would run more than one character. So, but yeah, I would say to me, the sweet spot is 4, 5, 6 hours because you get things done. What I can't stand is going and running a session where 4 or 5 hours went by and I feel like all we did was spin our wheels. Nothing got done. And that just drives me nuts because, for one, I always strive to make sure that the game session is memorable, that doesn't matter what happens, that people had a good time and it sticks in their memories. Like I say it all the time. My best friend, Elliot, his memory is not great. That is putting it lightly. But he can sit there and regale stories of role-playing games that we have played over the years and get into great detail about it. So, pretty cool. Let's see. Did I cosplay Vampire the Masquerade when it was all the rage? No, I did not. Although I did hang at a nightclub that people did play that, who did cosplay and hang out. And I had picked up Vampire the Masquerade. I had some of the splats. I had Chicago by Night and stuff like that because White Wolf was out of Chicago. But no, I did not cosplay. I did not do any LARPing. I don't know if LARPing would be for me. I have covered a couple of, I've hung out at conventions and been invited to sit back and watch LARPs, and they seem kind of interesting. But then sometimes I have a problem with people who take things way too fucking seriously because it's like, it's a game. It is a game. We're just having fun. All righty. So Sean O'Donnell says, as a 5e player, a lot of them are pretty sour and unlikely to bother with the 2024 edition. That said, a lot of people did think Forgotten Realms Sword Coast was overdone. And funny enough, I don't think the Forgotten Realms got the sort of attention it should have. As far as Wizards of the Coast releases, I'm not talking third-party stuff, but Wizards of the Coast releases, to me, Faerun never felt like a place. I don't know how you feel about that, if you're familiar with 5e D&D, but I never really got a sense of place with it. I always get a sense of we're just piggybacking on stuff that came before with a bit of an assumption that people will know what it is. So I find Golarion to be a far, far more detailed and relatively logical setting. You've heard me say before, I just absolutely love Midgard from Cobalt Press. And I'm hoping that continues to be their default for Tales of the Valiant, although they've got that Labyrinth release. So I'm thinking maybe not, that they might just throw all these various different planes out there. Flaming Heron asked, did I date a goth girl? I never dated a woman who was goth. I did date women who were into like punk rock and stuff. But no, I didn't. I never dated anybody who I would consider to be goth. They tended to wear, colorful clothing, not all black all the time. But the name of the place that used to have people hanging out, LARPing, I almost said Magic the Gathering, Vampire the Masquerade, was called the Limelight. It was a nightclub downtown, near downtown. To me, I don't consider where it was at to be downtown. Other people would. But then again, I lived in the city. So to me, downtown is like downtown, the Daily Building, stuff like that, Daily Plaza and stuff. All right, let's just take a few more questions here. So there was a bit of discussion about sweet spot for players. Chris Lundgren said 5 to 8 players, no longer than 5 hours. Flaming Heron says 6, generally 3 to 5. Chris Lundgren says 2 hours exploring a room is boring. I would hope at no point you ever get exploring a room taking 2 hours. I can't imagine combat taking 2 hours. Pete Strakolich has joined us. Says, Midgard rocks. Mark CMG Clover says that old Limelight building was a serious mansion. It was wild. It was very cool. I used to hang out at a few places, but never like goth places. Although the exit was punk rock, I guess there were some goth girls, but that really wasn't a thing. It was like punk. You were punk. You weren't really goth. W4 Jazz, what role-playing game would I like to bring back from the dead? I have talked about this before, and I do know that there is I guess there's a version of this with all the serial numbers filed off. So it's kind of, open license on it. The James Bond role-playing game from Victory Games was excellent. It was really, really well done. It was kind of crunchy, but it really did a nice job. And the adventures for it were excellent because they would actually take a Bond film, but they would tweak it. They would change things. So it wasn't exactly the same. And sometimes there were like big changes. Like I remember one adventure, the villain from the movie wasn't the villain. It was someone else. It was like, whoa, that's pretty wild. The reason why I say I'd like to see it return from the dead, I would like to see it come back as a James Bond role-playing game. Just like, as an example, the Open D6, right? It's the West End Games Star Wars D6. Well, we just talked about the Planet of the Apes Kickstarter that's kind of built on that Open D6 sort of system of mechanics. But Open D6 is not Star Wars, right? Star Wars is Star Wars with D6. Open D6 is just mechanics. So yes, I would definitely love to see that return. I thought Bushido from Fantasy Games Unlimited was probably their best. I would think that was the best FGU release. And it had a little bit of support, not a ton, had a little bit, and that was a pretty solid role-playing game as well. They did some seriously yeoman work as far as creating the world of Nippon and basing it on various legends and myth from Japan. As far as the mechanics, though, they were a little bit clunky, but they weren't overly complex. Mark CMG Clover says, Limelight became Excalibur. Yes. When it became Excalibur, I only went a few times, and that was basically it. The Badger says, I remember Limelight. Hell, I kind of remember the warehouse. The warehouse, I was going to say the safe house up in Milwaukee. I wonder if that's still around. That was a pretty cool bar. It was kind of a James Bond-ish bar. That was pretty cool. But a couple more questions and I will wrap up. Oh, Flaming Heron asked, because they got into Vampire the Masquerade big time. Oh, that's cool. I knew people who were, but I just wasn't. Edge for Life is with us. Says they live outside of Milwaukee. It's still around. Yes. Does it still have some of the lights out? I always thought, and then the password was Moneypenny. And if you didn't guess the password, then they would make you do goofy stuff. And there were cameras that were there at the door. Well, it was inside where you actually went up to the person who was like collecting I think they were collecting a cover or whatever. So Edge for Life says all they know is the password. But yeah, it was kind of funny. And then, once you got inside, there were monitors all over the place for you to actually watch the people having to do goofy ass stuff to get in. So I thought that was pretty wild. And then they had the phone booth, which was actually an exit door, but you had to hit certain numbers on the phone for it to open up. And it was 007. I remember that. It was pretty cool. We used to go there when we would go to the Gen Con when it was up in Milwaukee. So Shanbot V42 says you still enter through an alley and you could watch all the people doing the funny things. Yep. Very cool. Yes, it's disguised as an import-export office. And if I remember right, the way the sign is lit is some of the letters are out, but it says safe house. But gosh, it's been years. I would almost be tempted to go up to Milwaukee just to pop in there. Mark says they rotated the password. Sometimes it was, I'm looking for a safe house. Oh, see, every time we went, we just said Moneypenny. It was like, okay. Of course, you'd have to lean over and be like, Moneypenny. All righty. So, all right, one last question. Oh, all right, Sean O'Donnell. Should I even try to introduce 5e players to Call of Cthulhu? Well, I would hope you would try. Let's see. I would say if your players like horror, if they're not little babies, I mean, I wouldn't bust out Delta Green on them, but you'd be surprised at how many people who played 5e who got a chance to play Call of Cthulhu take to Call of Cthulhu like a fish out of water or deep one in water. So, yeah, I would say give it a shot and pick up the starter set. Pick up Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu starter set. There are a trio of adventures in there that are really well done. So, pretty nice. Pretty nice. Coco B has popped on in. All right, so Coco B is going to have our last question for the AMA. Shadow Devil says they aren't little babies. Well, no, I mean, if you're going to run Call of Cthulhu, your players cannot be people who are going to constantly be going, oh, where's the X card? Because that just is a waste of time. That's just a waste of time, in my opinion. Now, of course, you don't want to be crossing the line with Call of Cthulhu, but toe it. Got to toe the line. If in a horror game, you have got to try to push the envelope in a horror game. Otherwise, what is the point of playing a horror game? Now, I'm not saying that you have to completely freak your players out, but it's a good idea for them to be like, whoa, stuff like that. Okay, favorite format, box sets, digest size, or regular hardbacks? Personally, regular hardbacks. I don't mind the smaller digest size hardcovers. Those are cool. Box sets, problem I have with box sets, with many of them, like starter sets and that, and I understand they're trying to keep the price as low as they possibly can get it. But a lot of times, those booklets in the box sets or in the starter sets are never going to hold up. They are not going to hold up to a lot of repeated use. And there are a good number of games nowadays, such as we were just talking about the Grey Knight for Pendragon 6th edition. You can use the starter set from Pendragon for that campaign. And another great example is Delta Green. A lot of Delta Green adventures can be used just with the need to know. The need to know does have a kind of cardstock cover where most of the starter sets are just paper. So the cover is the same paper for the most part as the interior of the booklet. So I'm not a big fan on that. I don't mind a box set if the box set is, let's see. It has a book like this where it's got binding on it. So as an example, the Traveler starter set, which is actually really the Traveler core rulebook and an adventure campaign, actually. Those are, regular, like soft cover books. That's fine. It's just most of the boxes are, those booklets aren't going to hold up. Aren't going to hold up. So Shanbot V42 says, even if the whole group isn't into Call of Cthulhu, perhaps one or two might be intrigued. And keep in mind, you can play Call of Cthulhu Adventures with just a couple of players. Call of Cthulhu is not designed to have 7 investigators at the table because they'll be falling all over each other. So if you are running Call of Cthulhu, usually Call of Cthulhu works best with 3 players, maybe 4 players, and some helpful NPCs. Really make for probably the best game table, in my opinion, for Call of Cthulhu. And Kabuki Kid popped on in. Good to see you. She also points out binding that allows you to open the book somewhat flat on a table. Yes, that's also very, very helpful. All righty, that is it for this time out. Thank you very much for hanging out for the first official AMA for the Gaming Gang Dispatch. And maybe we'll do this every month. Just, I'll let you know a couple of days ahead of time and people can come up with some questions to throw at me. But of course, when I return on Tuesday, there will be a topic of discussion. Although, to be honest, I just don't know what it's going to be as of yet. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, a bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you are keeping each other company too. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the almost 2,000 videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, if you like this video, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as tonight's review of Pendragon's 6th edition, The Grey Knight, which will be live in about an hour, maybe a little less than that. Sweet. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, the rest of the week. Have a great weekend. I will be back on Tuesday. And of course, as always, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.